In today's ultra-competitive business world, being a successful entrepreneur or business owner can be very challenging. Fortunately, contemporary times have blessed us with resources for tackling those challenges and getting us to success more quickly than we could have imagined. Welcome to The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs grow incredible companies. This podcast looks at the 5 keys to unlocking success as an entrepreneur. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason's mission is to use his gifts of teaching and leadership to help others get the results they want out of life. Join Jason every week and learn the keys to grow a truly successful business.
Welcome to the show. I'm the real Jason Duncan. Glad you're here. This is a podcast where I interview some super successful entrepreneurs, just like our guest that you're going to meet in just a minute for today's show. And we talk about their journey to success. Like, how did they grow the super successful companies that they own and operate today? And today's guest is no different. He's got some amazing stories and success that you're going to learn from, and how you, as an entrepreneur, can do some of the same things. Now, if you're not watching this on YouTube, and you're just listening to the audio version, first of all, thanks for listening, and we appreciate that. Please go subscribe, leave a 5-star review. If you can't give us a 5-star review, please email me. We'll talk about what I got to do. Like, what do I need to do to get to 5 stars in your brain? But please subscribe, leave us a good review. But if you're not watching on YouTube, make sure you go to youtube.com/C/TheRealJasonDuncan. So youtube.com/C as in channel /TheRealJasonDuncan. And you can watch these. We filmed these live and in person, Nashville, Tennessee, at the Standard at the Smith House. It's 18,000 square feet of Southern sophistication and style, owned and operated by the one and only Josh Sterling Smith. It's one of the top 5 cigar bars in the country. Wonderful restaurant, private club here. I'm honored to be a member, and I'm very thankful to Josh and his team for letting us use the Matador room here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we're in this beautiful room, and there's a big bullhead on the wall and this beautiful glass table. It's just a phenomenal place. If you ever come to Nashville, make sure you look me up. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram at The Real Jason Duncan, and connect, and maybe we can get together and smoke a cigar, have a glass of bourbon or something, and hang out here while you're in Nashville. You got to make this a stop. You got to come take a look at this. We're honored to be syndicated on the C-Suite Radio Network. That's who pushes us out to all the players. So whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're listening, we appreciate you listening. And C-Suite, we appreciate what you do to get us out into all those places. The sponsor for today's episode is 8Bend Marketing, and that's the number 8, BEND .marketing. That's their website, 8bend.marketing. And if you go to 8bend.marketing/root, you get a special offer on something. And let me tell you about what they do. So I'm a business coach. That's part of what I do. I own several businesses, but one of the things I do is I coach entrepreneurs on how to start, scale, enjoy, and exit their businesses. Well, I've got one of my customers who came to me, I don't know, it's been a year or so ago, with new messaging for their company, for their website, for their marketing collateral and their sales materials. And I was blown away because it was so clear, so concise, so good. I thought, I need to know who wrote this. And they told me it was 8Bend. So I reached out to 8Bend, met the owner, and invited him to come to my office in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and work with me and my team on what we do to get our messaging right. Your words convey everything that people are going to know about your business. So make sure that your messaging is right. Make sure the story is correct. And that's what 8Bend does. So if you've got a business out there, you need to get your messaging done right, call 8Bend. Look them up. Go to 8bend.marketing/root for a special offer. That's the number 8, BEND.marketing/root, as in root of all success. So they thank them for sponsoring the show today. So now, with all of that, let's talk about why we're really here today, and that's to talk to another super successful entrepreneur. So my guest today is an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a food service operations expert with over 30 years industry experience. He had his humble beginnings in Boston, Massachusetts. He's all the way in here today in Nashville from Boston, and he was the overnight baker turned manager for the Mr. Donut restaurant in Massachusetts. And his parents had purchased that Mr. Donut restaurant, the franchise, in the mid-'80s while he was in college. And a fun fact is that when he was in college, right after college, he was a ski instructor in Colorado for a year. So his gap year, he spent not making donuts, but going out on the ski slopes. But he is a recognized and established franchisee and managing partner of Dunkin and Baskin-Robbins restaurants throughout Central Mass and Middle Tennessee. He currently owns and operates 42 restaurants, 2 central manufacturing locations, and is expanding operations in both those markets in Massachusetts and in Nashville. And he's also looking to expand into the Memphis market. The operations he owns employ nearly 1,000 people, and they bake over 2 million donuts per year. And I might have had a couple of those. And I can tell you this, my daughter's 18 and she loves Dunkin. She stops at Dunkin frequently and spends lots of money on iced coffee. She loves going there. So please join me in welcoming the super successful entrepreneur for my episode today, the one and only Steve Catalano. Thanks for being here, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you're a rock star, so we know each other we don't know each other really well, but we met here at the club because you're a member here, and so when you come to Nashville, you come hang out here, and we sat down and had a really long conversation one night, and I just was impressed from day one. So I'm honored that you've agreed to be on the show. So thank you very much for being here. I know you got to head back to Boston after this, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, and we definitely had a great conversation that night, and I certainly appreciate what you do, and I love being a member here at the Standard. It's an absolutely fabulous place, and you meet the greatest people and hear some really nice stories about different people and how they started their businesses and how they've continued their businesses, and you do a lot of learning while you're having those cigars and a few bourbons too.
Indeed. So your mom and dad were in the donut business, was how you got it started. So tell us a little bit, tell the listeners about those first couple of years. I mean, was it a lot of fun getting up at 3 a.m. and going and making donuts? Like, tell us about how that all worked.
Well, it's pretty interesting. When I was in college, my father, he was an insurance salesman, and he decided he wanted to do his own business. So he went out on his own and started the Mr. Donut franchise, or a store from Mr. Donut. And my whole family worked in the business. My sisters, my mother, and it was really tough getting it going and getting it off the ground. And I'd come home from school and I'd see them, and they'd be working 24 hours a day. My father was baking at that time, and my mother's working the front counter and hiring the folks to the different team members and whatnot. And after I took my gap year and was out skiing, I came back and hit reality, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I got a BS in political science from Westfield State, and I thought I wanted to go into law and politics and things like that. So I just started night baking, and I didn't know where it was really going to take me, but I knew at least I could do that and make some money. And when I was night baking, I had the days where I could look to see what else I could do and where I wanted to go. And then in 1990, Dunkin' Donuts corporately bought out Mr. Donut, which created a whole different opportunity for us, because Dunkin' was already a well-established, known brand, especially starting in Quincy, Massachusetts. So it was a very regional brand, very understood brand, and we had opportunities to expand from there. So myself and my sister, we wound up expanding, and we bought some stores up in New Hampshire and Vermont. My sister took over the operations in Massachusetts while I was up there, living up there, and getting those stores going.
What year was? Give us a time frame on when all that was going on.
So that was in the early '90s. Is when so we converted to Dunkin' Donuts in 1990, and we started to expand around '92, '93. We were able to move up and purchase some stores that weren't running well, and it was an opportunity for us to turn them around and be able to sort of use that as a stepping stone. So we went up, and I went up there and lived up there for 6 months. Some pretty interesting stories of living up in Claremont, New Hampshire. But at any rate, we turned the stores around. We wound up selling the stores after 3 years, and we were able to bank some money that we were able to do some more expansion down in Massachusetts and buy some territory there. So sort of stepping stones along the way. Started with the baking and understanding the business. And the first day I was in the store, I remember my father handed me a small cup, and he's like, "Okay, time to clean the grease trap." So it was a pretty interesting start. But my father was my mentor, and he still is my mentor, and we still talk business all the time. And I'm always learning from him.
Well, part of the kind of the central niche of the Root of All Success as a podcast is I want to talk to entrepreneurs who are founders and it wasn't a franchise or a family business. So you are a little bit outside that, but I did this on purpose, and I'm bringing this up on purpose too because I think it speaks to how successful you are. Is that if you just owned a Dunkin or a Baskin-Robbins, first of all, you probably wouldn't be a member here, and we would know each other. But that doesn't make you an entrepreneur. You're a business owner because the systems are already built and already in place, and you're just making sure they run and don't fail. But what I see in you, Steve, and based on what I know about your story, and as I read in the intro, 42 restaurants, 2 central manufacturing locations, expanding, building, buying, selling, that's the entrepreneur in you, right? It's not, you didn't just take over dad's business. You didn't just buy a brand that was already established. You're doing the entrepreneurial things. And I think that business owners and entrepreneurs get confused about who they are. Some people think they're entrepreneurs that are just business owners. Some people think that they're entrepreneurs and they're just business owners, like I said, but some people think they're business owners, but they're really entrepreneurs. They don't recognize that risk and innovation is really the key. And that's what you did. I mean, based on the stories that you've told me and what we were going to talk about today, you didn't just buy franchises. You're building out an empire, and you've got 42 stores and 2 central manufacturing. That, I think, is why I wanted you on the show, because I think you are you are that outlier for the franchise and family business guy that says, hey, I can take what dad started and I can turn this into an empire. So is that how you see it? Like, how do you see yourself?
Well, it's interesting because, the franchise business gives you a start. And one of the things that I like about Dunkin' Donuts versus the other franchises, we get to own our own real estate. We control our supply chain. We control our marketing to a great extent. We have an elected board that handles marketing. Same thing with our distribution center. We don't buy from Cisco or PFG or any of those other, staple food purveyors. We have a board that actually goes out and buys the coffee beans and the flour and so forth. And then the biggest thing is the real estate. So from the real estate piece, we've created a real estate business. Basically, we have multi-tenant buildings, we have single-tenant buildings. And it's nice to be able to have the franchises an anchor on those buildings, and then you can put in different tenants and so forth, from that. So we've done really well with the real estate piece of the business as well, even to the point where we started an Italian restaurant in Pepperell, Mass, and it started because of the real estate. So I bought the piece of real estate. It was a Bank of America building, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And this kind of goes to the story about being prepared, understanding what you're getting into, and learning from your failures. So this was all in one for me. I fell in love with the property. I built the restaurant. We built the restaurant. We wanted to have a scratch restaurant, no microwaves, nothing in there. Just everything was fresh. But the size of the restaurant, being a Bank of America, was not big enough to sustain that type of a business. We couldn't turn the tables fast enough. We didn't have enough tables, so we couldn't get over that hump with it. So I wound up selling the business and the real estate. But it was a lesson learned. And one of the things that I always say to people is, you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Amen.
And you put those in the back of your mind, and then you kind of learn from that. So, but we do focus on the real estate piece of the business quite a bit. And down here in Central and Mid Tennessee, that's one of the things that we're picking up a lot of pieces of real estate to go along with the franchise.
And isn't that kind of the famous story of McDonald's being a real estate company, not really a hamburger company? Isn't that kind of their model too? Is it that the fact that they own that real estate and they lease it to the franchisees or the owners of the stores, that's kind of that's how they make money? And it sounds like you're building your own little empire the same way, but just with Dunkin and Baskin-Robbins.
Well, that's exactly it. So McDonald's is basically a real estate company. The franchisees that are McDonald's franchisees, they're told, they go to the McDonald's school, and then they're told where to go in the country as far as where McDonald's has their real estate. So they go in, and that's your typical franchising, I would say. They go in and they run the McDonald's store, but they buy all their product from McDonald's. So McDonald's gets something on their food that they sell to their franchisees. They charge them rent on the buildings that they own. But McDonald's is basically it's a real estate. It's like Sears and Roebuck. Sears and Roebuck, same type of model. You know, Sears owns most of the malls that they're in, so you see they're failing as far as the stores go. But their real estate holdings are just amazing.
Really? See, I did not know that. That's a new piece of information I wasn't expecting to learn today. So Sears is still viable only because they own real estate.
Because they have a ton of real estate holdings, most of the malls that they're in, and that's sort of one of the models that you know, on a micro scale, you know, we're Dunkin' Donuts as the anchor tenant in our buildings. Then we have sometimes dry cleaners. Dry cleaners go very well with Dunkin' Donuts. People drop off their dry clean in the morning, they get their coffee, come back the next morning, they pick up their dry cleaning, and they pick up their coffee. So that works very well. Convenience stores work very well also with us, and we've had success with hairdressers as well, hair salons and so forth. So
with why Nashville? Like you're obviously you're from Boston, you're from the Massachusetts area, spent some time in New Hampshire, but why Nashville? What was it about Nashville that said I got to get there, buy some stores or build a plant? I mean, what was it about here?
Well, it's a funny story. This was actually the last stop on our sort of tour. So I have a friend and a partner, Matt Campobasso, who I know from Massachusetts. He's an attorney by trade, and he wanted to get into franchising. And so I went through, I sat with him, would go golf, and I'd tell him all about all these different franchises because, you know, I've kind of investigated all of them, the pros, the cons, what works, what doesn't work. And I come down to it, and I said, Matt, you know, why don't we just do a Dunkin', you know, why don't you get into Dunkin' Donuts, and we'll find someplace else in the country, because Massachusetts is so densely populated with Dunkin' Donuts that Dunkin' was sort of incentivizing people that were seasoned franchisees to look at different parts of the country. So we went to Minneapolis, we went to Gulfport, Mississippi, we went to Denver, Colorado, and so Nashville was the last one that sort of there were stores for sale, and it was a very emerging market and so forth. So
what year was this when this happened?
This was 6 years ago.
Okay.
So Matt says to me, you know, we've been traveling all over. You know, I mean, we both like Gulfport, Mississippi. There's a little problem because, you know, insurance, because of the floods and the hurricanes and so forth, and you know, we kind of that was a kind of a little bit of a sticking point. And he said, you know, what are we going to Nashville for? There's probably tumbleweeds blowing across the street there. That's
2015 Nashville tumbleweeds. That's what's going on.
And that's Boston, and we were so wrong, obviously. So when we got down here, we got off the plane. This is we get off the plane. It's January, and we think we're going down south, and we're wearing shorts. You know, so it's like 19 degrees outside. You know, so that was
welcome to Nashville.
Welcome to Nashville, exactly. So, well, we fell in love with it, and we wound up buying 3 different franchisees out in the central, in this Middle Tennessee area, and then we built 10 stores since you know, over the course of the 6 years. Opening our latest one in Portland about a month ago.
Yeah, Portland. So Portland, Tennessee, for the listeners, is just about 40 minutes north of Nashville, downtown Nashville, 30, 40 minutes north of downtown, and good, quaint little town. Actually, I've owned 2 homes in Portland, and so I'm familiar with the area, even though I don't live there now. So you've got 42 stores now, 42 restaurants now. Where are they? Like, what's the split between Massachusetts and Tennessee? How's that split up?
It's almost even. I mean, when we first came, we have 20 stores in Massachusetts, so and 22 down here now. And like I say, over the past 6 years, we've built 10 stores down here.
Wow. So, and you got the 2 manufacturing locations, which actually that's the way I heard about you from the beginning, was that you when they were serving donuts here at the club for breakfast, they were saying, yeah, the guy who actually bakes the donuts, brings the donuts in here, he's a member of the club. So where is there a bakery here in Nashville? Is that what that is?
In Madison.
In Madison, Tennessee, which is, again, just north of Nashville, part of the suburbs. And is there another bakery in Boston? You have one up there?
We do on Devon's. It's an old army fort that was converted over to you know, sort of civilian businesses and warehouses and whatnot.
Now, is that normal for a Dunkin' Donuts franchisee to also own the manufacturing of the donuts? Is that normal?
All of the manufacturing locations are owned by franchisees, but we do deliver to a lot of franchisees. So
Okay.
it's a little off the norm.
Interesting. Well, and I would like to point out for all of the listeners that Duncan and my last name are not the same. I have been called Dunkin' Donuts my whole life because my last name is Duncan, but I'm here to tell you that Dunkin' Donuts is a verb. It's Dunkin', as in you are dunking a donut in coffee or something, where my last name is Duncan, like Duncan, like Duncan Hines. You know, that there, if you're going to call me something, call me that. But I've been called Dunkin' Donuts my whole life, and honestly, kind of soured me to the whole brand. I'm like, I don't want to go there. People have been calling me that my whole life. But your coffee, and actually, you rebranded the franchise or the corporate rebranded away from donuts in the name, right? So it's just now Dunkin'. Is that am I understanding that right?
You did, yeah. So what they did was everybody focused on the donuts piece, and we've got such a wide variety of offerings now, from grilled cheese sandwiches to avocado toast. So it's more than just a donut shop. And we want to really highlight our coffee as well, our new, espresso lines with our lattes and caramel swirls and Charlie drinks and all these other beverages that we have, refreshers that we have. So it's more than just the Dunkin' Donuts. Like when I started, it was really the Dunkin' Donuts. It was all about the donuts and, keeping those cases full all the time and, all the different varieties and whatnot. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and they're from Massachusetts, and they were looking for a district manager job, and they were talking about how every Sunday they'd all load in the car and go to Dunkin' Donuts in Swansea, Mass. So it was kind of a funny story because I'd be the guy behind the glass making the donuts on Sunday mornings.
So how is Baskin-Robbins connected? Because I know that in my town where I live, the Dunkin' Donuts and the Baskin-Robbins share almost the same lobby. There's a half wall between, but are they owned by the same company, or is it just franchisees like you putting those two concepts together? How do those connect?
So Dunkin' Donuts wound up buying out Baskin-Robbins probably 25 years ago or so. So Baskin-Robbins was very well established in California. It was a California brand. Dunkin' Donuts started in 1950 in Quincy, Massachusetts. So you have the two sort of opposite coasts, two different day parts. So you have the morning day part with the coffee and the donuts and the breakfast sandwiches and so forth. And then you have the afternoon, evening sort of treats piece of it. So putting those two brands together, they felt at the time would work out really well. Then you have an all-day concept versus just having a morning concept. So our business is really the peak hours are like 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning. Then after that, everything kind of drops off. Whereas you have like McDonald's has a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So this adding the Baskin-Robbins adds, keeps that real estate moving, longer into the day versus just having the Dunkin'.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. So now, when we go back to from college to the gap year in Colorado doing the ski thing, to today owning 42 restaurants, what was the kind of the build up to that? When was it? Did you raise your hand and say, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run these restaurants. This is what." How long ago did that happen, and how did you come to that decision?
So it was probably always the decision. And when I first started and working at Mr. Donut, I would have probably gone on to something else had it not been for Dunkin' buying out Mr. Donut, because that's what kind of created the opportunities. Always in my mind, I wanted to build something, and the opportunity to build something as a Mr. Donut wasn't there. It was just kind of a filler, as far as time went. And then, we sat down. And we talked about, the opportunities with the Dunkin' and, and sort of, so when we started, it was a Mr. Donut because Dunkin' Donut, the initial franchise fee was too high. So the Mr. Donut was a lot less to get in. It was like $3,000 for a Dunkin' Donut, $1,500 for a Mr. Donut, at the time.
Can I buy one today?
But it was just too much, and the feeling was that let's start this and see how it would go. And I mean, even building the stores, we build our own stores. The franchise does not come in and build the stores for us. We go out and we acquire all of our cabinets and our millwork. We hire our own contractors. We do all of our own work at our own cost. So the development piece was a little bit daunting. And when we first expanded into New Hampshire and Vermont, there were existing stores. They just weren't run right. And my sister and I knew that we could fix it. And so we went in and we fixed them, and we knew it was going to be a short-term type of a situation. We actually wound up buying real estate there. So I guess that was our first acquisition of real estate, and wound up selling that piece of real estate with the network, which also helped the value of the network as well. So, but it was always there to grow, and it's still right now. I mean, when you talk about defining success and really what you want to do, it's, I define it as, doing something you love doing, something that you're passionate about. That's what I feel makes you successful, because if you're passionate about what you do and you wake up every morning and you really want to do what you're doing, and you have different plans and you're preparing for different things, whether they happen or they don't happen, you still go through the motions and you learn more about how to make it happen next time if it doesn't happen this time. We have a real estate deal down here that I'm super proud of. It was a piece of property that we really wanted. I fell in love with the property. I kind of do that sometimes. And it was under contract. And I talked to the real estate broker and I said, listen, can you call this person like every week, even though it's under contract? And so finally the guy said, it's under contract. And, he said, why don't you just have me come over? So I went over and I met him and I talked to him and we hit it off. And we talked for, we must have talked for, a couple of hours. And we were just talking about life and business and different things like that. And lo and behold, a week later, the thing fell out of contract. I got the call and he said, you want it? And I'm like, absolutely.
No, I'll change my mind. I don't want it anymore.
So it's all about sort of, not sort of, it's all about being diligent, and being passionate about what you do. And, when you're passionate about what you do and you like what you do, you find success. My father once told me, he said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So, if you're sitting back and you're thinking that, luck is just going to strike you, or, you look around, I love to walk around, you walk around the city and you look and you think every single building, every single business is owned by somebody, and they started it. And I say, why not me? Why not, and that's kind of my mantra on everything is, if you see it, somebody started it. If they, if you're buying it, someone built it. So the opportunities are just unlimited, and it's, for me, that's super exciting. I get very excited about things like that.
Well, I love what you're saying, Steve, and I want to ask you this question. I ask every guest. I ask them to define success in their own words, which you already did without me asking you. But my follow-up to that is, do you consider yourself to be successful? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
Well, I'm passionate about what I do. I love what I do. I love business, both, the success side when you actually attain what you're trying to get, and even when you don't, and then, you skin your knees a little bit, and you learn those lessons. Both sides of it. I mean, I don't like to skin my knees too often, but you're gonna, and if you're not trying hard enough, you won't skin your knees, because and this is what, from a kind of a little ski cliche, if you don't fall down, you're really not trying, because the harder you try and the more you put yourself out there, the more times you have the opportunity to either succeed or fail, and you're not going to succeed every time. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, yes.
Well, and I think from the outside perspective, people who know you, like I know you from the outside looking in, yeah, we would think you're successful. But you look at the outcome. Success, dictionary definition of success is, did you achieve the results intended? And what you define success as, doing what you're passionate about, enjoying those things. Well, you're doing something you're passionate about and enjoy. So by definition, you are successful. And I love what you said about skinning your knees and falling down. You got to try hard. Is that I know, and I've known this for a long time, and every entrepreneur listening to this show will know this, is that you learn failure is a much better teacher than success. Like if you succeed, all I do is succeed. Well, you're probably pretty dumb because what have you learned? You haven't learned anything. You fail. Now I've got something I can build on. The famous quote from Thomas Edison, he took him 10,000 tries to make the first commercially viable electric light bulb. He said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I learned how not to do it. Like I figured out everything taught him something. And I love what you're saying about skinning your knees and learning to fall because you've got to be able to do that. I kind of prepped you for this, so I know that this is not going to be a surprise to you. But these 5 P's of success that I kind of talk to my guests about on the root of all success starts with passion. You've already used the word passion about that's part of your definition of success, and the passion has 2 sides to it. There's an emotional side of passion, like I get excited about things, and maybe you get excited about donuts, maybe you don't, but
I do.
But you do, okay. And we'll talk about that. Might need another show for that. But there's this excitement and a joy about doing something, and that's one side. And a lot of entrepreneurs who are successful do have that passion. But it's the mental side of passion that I find that is in everybody's story. It's the ability to endure, because that's what the word passion, if you go back and look at where it came from, that's what that word means. It means the ability or desire to endure. And so the passion of the Christ was not about his excitement to go to the cross. It was about his ability and desire to endure because of a greater cause. So tell the listeners about how that part of passion appeared in your story of building this empire, this donut empire.
As far as enduring, that's sort of what you do, just on an everyday basis. From you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're dealing with a lot of different situations, and every situation's a little different, which actually is enjoyable to me because it's not like just doing the same thing every day. I can hear something new almost every day. And I can't believe that I can after this many years, but you do, and you have different situations, and you have to react to the situations. And it's really about how you react to the situation is how you endure through the different times. Some things are really fun and really good, and they're good to hear. And I'll see someone, I'll see people celebrating in a store, over drive-through times, and they'll get a cake for the whole crew, and that's great. And those are the fun things. And then there are less fun things and performance issues and customer complaints and different things that you have to deal with on that end. There's also mechanical things that you have to kind of work with. We have a lot of whether it's HVAC or ovens or trucks, delivery vehicles, or whatever it is, so there's always something different happening, and you sort of endure through all those different things for the greater good to make the outcome for everybody. So one of the things that we do that's very important to us is our corporate culture. So Jess Halloran is our marketing / corporate culture person. So it's whether it's celebrating people's birthdays or appreciating people for different things that they do, it's super important, and we weave it into the fabric of our business because we're a people business, not just a coffee business and donut business. It's all about the people, both on both sides of the counter, and so everybody has to endure through different things that they have to endure through too. And as a company, we want to be there for all of our team members and make sure that we're all enduring through what we have to do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's personal, professional, work-related, non-work-related, and there are a lot of situations that come up throughout the course of a day, a week, a month, and when you get to the end of the year and you look back, and Matt and I will sit, and we'll talk about the year and review over a bourbon and a cigar, and there's a lot of different things that come up, a lot of different situations.
So you said you have the emotional passion with donuts. So tell us about that. That gets your juices flowing? You really, really enjoy donuts?
I can't tell you how many donuts I've eaten in my lifetime. I've eaten probably more than anybody.
Well, you look like you've lost weight since the last time you and I hung out.
I had to so I can eat more donuts.
Now that is good. You know, I
know?
don't often eat donuts, but when I do, it's more than one. I don't. Has anybody ever eaten one donut?
No, they're like potato chips.
it's like
You know,
one.
no one eats one potato chip. You know, once you open the bag, you're in trouble. You know.
So the first P of my kind of these keys to success that I discovered over these years of interviewing very successful entrepreneurs is passion. We just talked about that. The second one is place, being at the right place, the right time. So you didn't really control your dad's decision to buy the Mr. Donut franchise. But what was it about that place that made that the right place, right time for your dad, which eventually split over into your success?
So as far as place goes, when we sat down and thought about the business, and you think about one family owning one store, so that's not feasible. It's just not viable, especially back in in the days of Mr. Donut. So we had to put together a plan, and the plan basically was the growth plan, or to start growing, and how we were going to do the growth. So the place being either the first store that we had or our first expansion into New Hampshire and Vermont played a key part, an integral part in starting the growth that we had. So we would buy the stores at a very low price, would be able to transform those stores, and would be able to sell those stores and then take that money and invest in another area. So it was all about that planning and placement of the stores that we had to acquire. So at that point in time, we wouldn't have been able to acquire stores in Nashville, Tennessee. It was just too far. I'd be driving, at that time I was driving back and forth between the Massachusetts stores. There were only, I think, 3 stores in Massachusetts at the time.
Well, Nashville's ended up being one of those right places, right time too, hasn't it?
Nashville definitely has. Nashville it's like catching lightning in a bottle. I've never seen anything like it before. I don't know if I ever will, but when we came down 6 years ago, we looked at each other and we said, "Wow, I wish we were here 3 years before. We just missed it." And boy, we didn't just miss it. It's just taken off. We have stores out in Wilson County, and Wilson County, I think, is one of the fastest growing counties in definitely in the state and maybe even the country, with all the construction and building, and Amazon putting 1 million square feet in over there. It's probably the biggest building I've ever seen. I don't know if you've ever been out and seen that Amazon building. It's 1 million square feet on 3 levels. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. So for the listeners, Wilson County is just east of Nashville, east of Davidson County, where Nashville's located, and the whole area is growing. And that is really interesting. I'm a Nashville guy. I grew up here, and I'm one of what they call the unicorns, because nobody who lives here is from here. But I remember, I learned to ride a bike over here in East Nashville on a sidewalk, and I remember watching East Nashville go through its really bad days, and now there's having this regentrification and it's a resurgence, and they're putting stores in, and the skyline. Oh my gosh, the things that are growing. And you think, like you said, we're a little late. We missed no, it's still going. It's unbelievable how much it's growing here. So for those of us who are listening around the world, what is the right place for you? Where is it? Because it might not, you can't be Nashville for everybody. But if you're here, capitalize on it. Right place, right time. The third P is knowing the right people. And so tell the listeners the people in your life. You don't have to name them by name, but give us examples of people that said that you can look back to and say, if this person hadn't been a part of my life, I don't know that I would have achieved success. I mean, what do you have people like that you can think of in your life? Your dad's got to be one of those people for sure, right?
Yeah, my father absolutely is one of those people. He's been instrumental in everything that we've done. He's been ultra supportive. He's more conservative than I am as far as my sort of where I wanted to bring the company, which actually was very helpful because the mix between us really works out very well. And it's sort of the same mix that I have with my partner Matt Campobasso down here too. He's more on the conservative side. I'm more on the I go a little bit harder on different ideas and things like that. But the mix is really what makes it work. And so I definitely, my father is, he's absolutely the best. And even for him to, he's had me, I was in college, my sister was in college when he first left his job to do his own thing. And that entrepreneurial spirit, I will never forget to appreciate, because that really got me off and running.
Is he involved at all in any of your businesses today?
Oh, I keep his desk is still in the office. It sits in my office right across from me. So he's down in Florida a lot. He's 81 years old right now, but he'll come into the office and, we'll go to lunch and he'll sit at his desk, but his desk will always be there. So,
yeah, well, there's always that person. And I think entrepreneurs, this weird paradox of entrepreneurialism is that we're all independent people by nature, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to succeed the way we succeed. But the paradox is that if you are independent so much that you don't recognize how other people are going to influence and improve your life and bring you to success, you're going to miss it. It's a poison. Independence can be a poison that will kill entrepreneurs if they're not careful. And I think that those of us like you and a lot of my guests, they can point to their parents, their dad, their mom, somebody that really was instrumental in catapulting them to success. It's important to pay attention to that. I had a guest one time who's on the show whose dad was so pivotal in his life. I don't think he knew it, but I don't think he really realized it until we started talking about it. I said, holy crap, Dad, yeah, he's the guy. I wouldn't be here today if he hadn't done it. So, well, the fourth P, Steve, is that of preparation, and it's the know-how. And it's the know-how to be able to succeed. And you said you started as that overnight baker, and then you turned into the manager. It sounds to me like that part of your life early in the donut business really was kind of the preparation to get you ready for it. Am I reading that right, or is there some other thing that prepared you for success?
No, that definitely played a part. But as far as the preparation, I think preparation is an ongoing word, something that you have to continually stay on top of. And every venture that you do, whether it's buying the real estate on something or trying a new business venture, it's really, the preparation is the key to everything. You have to, in my opinion, you have to really understand what you're doing and when you're doing it and what effect it has on your business, if it was a piece of real estate, or on people. So even for us now, and when we're talking a little bit earlier, I was telling you about how we're doing a little restructuring. We did we had some learnings with COVID, and we've improved in some areas that were unexpected. So understanding to constantly be preparing for the future and being able to prepare for what changes, whether it's technology or people or the government or whatever it is throws at you. You need to always, in my opinion, be preparing.
Yeah. The final P I mentioned, and I see in people's stories, because I see passion and I see place and people and preparation in your story, is that a plan. And a lot of times when I mention that, people think, well, you're talking about a business plan. No, not necessarily. Some people have written business plans, some people don't. And that's not an indicator of success. But the plan I'm talking about is the financial resource plan. Like, how are you going to get the financial resources? How are you going to obtain them? How are you going to deploy them? What's your strategy? So when you started out, it sounds to me, based on your stories, that you and your sister had the plan of, hey, let's just buy some maybe more depressed stores that need help, and then we're going to do a short turnaround, and that'll finance the next big thing. Is that right? Was that your plan?
That was our plan. And those days, the plan was a lot different than these days, from a standpoint of back when we did those stores, our stores were unbankable. So you couldn't go to the bank and, as far as financing, they'd look at you and it was all used restaurant equipment, so the value was like pennies on the dollar. So you really couldn't get financing. So you really had to scrape and put together whatever you could. I remember one week we did, a bi-weekly payroll, and I was up in Claremont, and I had a payroll. And I'll tell you what, for the next 2 weeks, so meals tax fell on the same week as payroll. So you'd use a little bit of the float all the time, with the payroll in order to get through to the next week when things were really tight. And so in the winter, our business is really tight. January and February are tight months. Usually, still, even now, you really have to button the chin strap. But I just remember, and I was like, this is just nuts. I got to make sure we have enough money in the bank for the next payroll. I mean, payroll is absolutely, obviously, the most important thing. It has to be out on the Thursday. But it's interesting because you go through those sort of phases, and again, you learn a lot about yourself, about your business plan, about your plan for the future. You learn about everything. It all's very clear.
Well, I think that sometimes we underestimate that as entrepreneurs, and sometimes I think we overestimate it. So, and what I mean by that is that underestimating is we don't even think about it. Hey, we're going to make this happen. I'm a great salesperson. Well, if you don't have the financial resources, it doesn't matter how good you can sell, because you might not live long enough on your cash that you have now to get to the sale that closes. And then we overestimate it by thinking, well, we got to go get investments right now. When in reality, there's a middle ground somewhere in between where you can figure out, like you said, hey, let's just go buy some depressed stores, turn those around, flip them, make a few $100,000 or whatever that number was. Let's make some money to go to the next one. I even had a guest on here who was doing $20 million a year in a landscaping, talking about, hey, maybe your deal that you're trying to get going, just go do something for a little, run a job, run a business in some other thing for a little bit to get your next thing going. And I love that. It's like we got to figure out how we're going to get this plan working, because success is what we want. And you've been successful, and you've done it through passion and being in the right place, right time, right people, preparation, and plan. If you had the ears of entrepreneurs that are listening right now, and they wanted a piece of advice from a super successful guy like you who's built this donut empire, this coffee empire, this ice cream empire, what would you say to them? Like, these are the pieces of advice I'd give you. What would you say?
I'd say prepare and do your homework. Whatever it is that you're doing, that preparation, like I said, is so important, because you can't wind up getting into a situation where you run out of money, you run out of funds, you run out of opportunity. The business can't hit the wall, and all of a sudden you'd be done. So doing your homework is important, and again, equally as important is people. We're all in the people business. It's all about people. People, whether they're your customers, whether they're your team members, and really make sure that from a people perspective, you're buttoned down, because that's what it is. Whether you're selling widgets, donuts, or hamburgers, it's all about people.
That is right. That's the one constant in every business. No business can operate without people. So thank you for doing that. And you know what? I want to say this as we kind of finish up our conversation, is that knowing you, even though we don't know each other extremely well, we have spent a few good evenings hanging out here at the Standard just talking. You're a very encouraging guy, and I appreciate that about you. I appreciate that you encourage me. I see you encouraging other people, and success has not gone to your head. You seem like, even though I didn't know you before you were the successful guy, you seem to me like the kind of guy who's just been the same. Like, you're just the dude that will make the donuts. I'll run the company and make whatever I got to do. You encourage me, and I hope that this has been an encouragement to the listeners. So how could they get in touch with you? If they wanted to reach out to you or any of your companies, how would they get in touch with Steve Catalano?
So our website is route65dd.com. That's route all spelled out. Or they can reach out to jessica.halloran@catalanocompanies.com.
And spell her name so that we know how to do that.
Jessica, Jessica.Halloran, HALLORAN, at Catalano Companies, all spelled out, CATALANOCOMPANIES.com.
Yeah, so that's a lot. So for those of you that are listening, you can rewind that. You can write that down. If you're watching on YouTube, or actually even if you're listening in the show notes, there'll be contact information for you guys to get in touch with Steve and his company. Well, there you have it. Another successful entrepreneur story, and every single time, I'm telling you, that's the theme of this whole podcast. The root of all success is, how do people grow successful companies? And even though Steve is not the entrepreneur in the sense that founded a specific company, what we've seen him do is build an empire out of the franchise model through real estate and investing in other concepts and ideas, and his success is amazing. And it went through these same things that everybody else does: passion and place, be at the right place, right time, knowing the right people, being prepared, having a plan. And we can see that in his story, and it's encouraging to me as an entrepreneur who owns several companies, and I hope that it's encouraging to you as an entrepreneur who either owns one, starting one, or you own several. I hope that this story of success from Steve Catalano and his companies will encourage you. Now, my thing that I want to offer you, as I do at the end of most of these episodes, is if you want to know what your probability of success is, like if you're asking yourself, well, how do I know if I'm going to be successful? I'm still working a job, I'm still a W-2 employee, or I'm a salesman. How do I know if what I do, if I take the leap, am I going to be successful? Well, I've got something for you. It's free success assessment based on the 5 Ps that I talk about here on the show. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/success. That's therealjasonduncan.com/success. And remember, it's DUNCAN, not DUNKIN like Dunkin' Donuts. But go to thealjasonduncan.com/success, and there's a free 5 Ps of success assessment. It's only 17 questions. It won't take you that long. And based on your answers to those questions, you're going to get a personalized report sent to your email inbox that'll show you, hey, based on what you said, your odds of success in this business venture are high, low, medium, whatever it happens to be, with some action items and things that you can do. Maybe it's a coach you need to reach out to, or a bookkeeper that you need to help you kind of figure some of the plan out. But whatever it is, just go to therealjasonduncan.com/success. Take that assessment. It's completely free. You'll be given that report in your email almost immediately after you hit the submit button. So go do that. Continue to listen to The Root of All Success with me, The Real Jason Duncan, where next week I'll be with yet another super successful entrepreneur and find out about his or her rise to success and what keys they used to get there. So until next time, I'm The Real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with The Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we invite you to visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Take charge of your business. Grow it from great to incredible. Join us again next time here on The Root of All Success.